So a few days ago, I just dropped my current magnum opus, which is a indie music video short film thing called Unperforming. It's a short film that me and my very good, very intelligent, very talented friend and ex-roommate, Christian. It's a film we made together in our final years of university, and now it's finally out. We kept this hidden for a while because it was still going through the rounds of film festivals and all that kind of stuff. So I'm so glad and happy that I can finally talk about it and share this with you guys. And the reception has been so sweet and heartwarming. Thank you guys so much. I'm glad, for those of you who watched it, I'm glad that, you know, it seems like it's resonating. It seems like it's hitting well, you know, like I'm just very grateful and happy that, you know, what we made was worthwhile. Now, to be honest, I personally have a very love-cringe relationship with this project because it's personal. The genesis of this film, the reason why this came into existence, is because there was a time when I was feeling just so terrible about myself and my environment around me, and I just felt so hopeless in a way. And this idea sort of came to life. It came to me as a way for me to just kind of like vent my pent-up feelings and frustrations about, like, you know, living in Vancouver, and also just the general feeling of being left out and unwanted, and also this feeling of this toxic chase I felt like I was being subjected to, and also being a willful participant in, you know, willfully subjecting myself to this toxic chase, you know, playing the whole social game, so to speak. So when I look back on this film, honestly, it's kind of difficult for me to watch because it reminds me of some very cringy and upsetting times, you know, when I look back at this. I remember the genesis, the start of it all. And also there's just the general cringe of just like watching yourself on film. That's already cringy enough, but like that, in addition to the context, the lore behind this film, oh my god, it's hard for me to watch it. But that doesn't mean I'm ashamed of it. I am very proud of what we produced. Like, this project is probably the best that it can ever be. I mean, yes, there are things that I feel like could have been done better, like with hindsight, but I'll get into all that later. It's as perfect as it could be, given that it was just the two of us, all right? Just two artsy-fartsy guys with a pencil and a camera. And honestly, like, a huge bulk of the work was done by my partner in crime, Christian. Like, this guy's a beast, okay? All of the editing and all the production and the visual effects, it was all done by him. The concept was me, initially. I was the ideas guy behind everything, and then we refined the concept together. We storyboarded everything together, but everything else, all the labor-intensive things, was all done by him. Like, just the amount of talent and dedication that this guy has is like unreal. He's like a modern-day Da Vinci. And I'm just so honored that, you know, we got to work on this together, and that, you know, he was like a true friend. He saw the pain I was in at the time and the vision I had for this project, which, by the way, was just like a crazy idea in my notebook at one point. And like, from that pain and from that vision, you know, we created something hopefully worthwhile and hopefully something that is enjoyable to watch. Anyways, that's enough of me gushing grannies over my friend. You should totally check him out, by the way. But yeah, let's just watch.
A person who thinks all the time has nothing to think about except thoughts. So, he loses touch with reality and lives in a world of illusions. By thoughts, I mean specifically chatter in the skull, perpetual and compulsive repetition of words, of reckoning and calculating. I'm not saying that thinking is bad. Like everything else, is useful in moderation. A good servant, but a bad master. And all so-called civilized peoples have increasingly become crazy and self-destructive because through excessive thinking they have lost touch with reality. That's to say, we confuse science with the real world. Most of us would have rather money than tangible wealth, and a great occasion is somehow spoiled for us unless photographed. And to read about it the next day in the newspaper is oddly more fun for us than the original event. This is a disaster. For as a result of confusing the real world of nature with mere science, we are destroying nature. We are so tied up in our minds that we've lost our senses. Time to wake up. What is reality? Obviously, no one can say because it isn't words. It isn't material, that's just an idea. Reality is... cannot be explained in words.
You okay?
Yeah.
Wanna go?
Oh yeah, sorry. Got lost in my head there for a moment.
It's all good.
Silly goose.
She's just doing her thing.
True. She be goosing.
She be loose.
There is this direct apprehension of the world, free from images. There's a lot more to the mind than thinking. The nature of a beautifully functioning mind is that it doesn't get in its own way.
Ooh, oh boy. I need a minute. I'm like sweating. Oh man, that was good, but also, oh my god, I do not like watching myself. But yeah, let's talk about it. So in this section, you actually get to see the idea that kind of like kickstarted this whole film project. One day when I was feeling like particularly sad after spending several hours like psychoanalyzing myself, I just, in my notebook, I just started to draw and map things out, just like journaling, just writing a lot. And from that writing session, this is where this idea came from. I started imagining myself dancing with paper airplanes, basically. And this idea was like heavily inspired by Eugene Lee Yang, his video about coming out as a gay person. And like, I was just imagining imagery of myself being surrounded by these paper airplanes. And these paper airplanes would be symbolic of this constant stream of negative thoughts and intrusive thoughts I would be having. And the idea was they represented the social pressures given to us by social media, which, you know, shows us images of what our lives should look like, what our bodies should look like, images of things that we need in order to be happy with ourselves. And the idea is that these ideas are just like a constant negative feedback loop. On one hand, they're fed to me via social media, which is why the imagery of the paper airplanes is, I feel like it works pretty well. Because, you know, when you send something online, whether it's a message or an image or like whatever, every time you share something online, usually the icon is of a paper airplane. And so we're not just like victims of this negative feedback loop, we're also like willful, willing, active participants in it. Because the main character of this film, let's call him Michael. Michael here also feeds into these ideals and pressures that are being set by social media and by the environment. And he kind of agrees with it subconsciously. Or rather, he's like trying to play by the rules that he's been given. And so, you know, he is also trying to look good on social media. He's also trying to impress upon a certain image. He's also trying to show off in a way. And you can see that with the way that it looks like he's like in command of those paper airplanes in this first section. He believes he is in control when he is consuming these images and playing a part in the social status game. It's literally a performance. Also, just as a behind the scenes, filming this scene, this theater scene, was quite the adventure. So in order to get like this theater space effect, we first tried to actually find a theater space to film in, or at least like a theater-esque looking room, you know? And for you UBC folks out there, The first room we tried to use was in the egg, in the nest. If you know, you know. But it didn't really work out for the main performance. We did manage to salvage some shots for other scenes, but like for the main dance scene, it just wasn't really working out. We couldn't really control the spotlights. And also we like snuck into the room, so we couldn't exactly like stay there. Basically, it wasn't giving us what we needed. So instead, we turned our home into a theater space. So back then, we lived in this like shared house. There's this one room that we called the sunroom. And we called it the sunroom because it had this really nice glass wall that like covered half the space. And the glass wall went up and formed a glass ceiling as well. So yeah, natural lighting and also natural heat. That bitch was a greenhouse during the summer, let me tell you. But anyways, we used that space because it had like a really nice wooden flooring. So basically what we ended up doing was that we created a blank background in that room by using paper to cover up like the wall protrusions, like the light switches and the outlets, you know, just covering up all the stuff on the wall. And then with some wires and grit, we looped some wires onto the ceiling to like lift up some desk lamps to create like a spotlight. But like it was very difficult to create the spotlight effect. Like it got to the point where like Christian actually tried climbing up to the roof and like shining the desk lamp through the glass in the ceiling to see if we could get the effect that he wanted. I don't think it worked out very well, to be honest, but that just goes to show just how dedicated he was in like creating this theater look for the mind space dance scene. Like it took a lot of time and a lot of reshoots, but the end result was pretty nice, I'd say. Also, this bathroom. This was our roommate's private bathroom. Thank you, Juhi. Shout out to you, MVP. We basically hogged her bathroom for an entire day because like after we set all of the shit up, we only had like that one chance to film everything we needed, right? Thank God we didn't have to refilm anything. Oh my God, that would have been a disaster. Anyway, so the second section. This is where like all starts to come to a head. Our character, Michael, realizes he's stuck in that loop. A loop of hypersexualization, of constant validation seeking, of trying to impress and compete with other hyper-masculine personalities that dominate our online landscape. Like, as gay men, for me, and for a lot of us, I imagine, we spent the first pubescent years of our life kind of hiding ourselves away. While our straight peers are like learning and like starting to figure out like how to properly talk to one another, like asking each other out on their first awkward dates, really working out the awkward kinks of, you know, talking to the opposite gender, getting that experience, you know, getting that freedom to like express romantic interest. For gays, typically we don't really have that growing up. I mean, at least for me. I mean, for straight people, you guys usually get middle school and high school to like figure all that stuff out, to get like your first real dose of experience, so that, you know, when you enter your young adult life, it's just not as awkward. You enter adulthood with that experience to help you. While for us gays, a lot of our first experiences and our first interactions is through Grindr, where the focus is like hyperfixated on our bodies, on our perceived attractiveness. And of course, surrounding all of that is this very intense hookup culture. And now living in that environment, while constantly being exposed to images and videos of hyper masculine men who are probably roided out as all hell. And since a lot of us didn't have that experience of talking to people who we were attracted to naturally in our youth, I feel like a lot of us end up entering our young adult life in this sort of extended adolescence. And all of that combines into forming this like negative feedback loop, like I'm saying. We learned that our bodies and our hotness is pretty much all that really matters in the gay world. And then we treat others the same way with that same lens. And then we try to, you know, put that on ourselves as well. And so it becomes like this toxic snowball. It just like keeps looping and keeps getting worse. And I think that's kind of why like a lot of us gays have like this kind of like this mean girl gay era, where like, you know, things are just really dramatic and like we're just acting like high school girls. And I think that's why, because we didn't really get that chance to like grow out of that in high school or middle school. And I feel like a lot of that happened to me as well. I mean, there's been times when I was just bitchy for no reason, and I just feel like I have a lot of people to apologize to. Like in university, I felt like there are certain things I did that were just not cool, you know. And hey, if I ever get the chance to run into some of you guys again, the people who I feel like I kind of wronged, I will apologize to you and buy you dinner. So yeah, until that day comes, just if you're watching this somehow, just know that like if we had like a weird interaction, that you kind of know why now, and it's not an excuse, but like, you know, let's get dinner and now we can talk about it more. But anyways, yeah, back to the film. And so in the end, I feel like the answer to escaping this validation seeking trap that we made for ourselves is basically just connection, real connection with people who already value you. Oftentimes when you're stuck in this this negative feedback loop, it's remembering the people around you and the people who care for you that can bring you back to earth. For me personally, when I was going through these sort of things, this film was kind of like a part of that, you know, like just being around my roommates, that there is more to life than just boys. I might be gay, but that's not everything there is about me. So instead of being wrapped up in this online world, being wrapped up in this constant loop of online consumption, we should be just out here in the real world. And for me personally, I feel like these are moments that I take way too often for granted, and I certainly did in the past, let me tell you. And in fact, to be honest, when I look at this film, to be honest, I'm just reminded of all the things that I took for granted and all the times I acted out and lashed out due to entitlement and just not being a pleasant person. We're always focused on things that we want and things that we don't have in our life, focused on the lack, when in reality, there's probably so many things out there that you can be grateful for and people you can be grateful for. But anyways, yeah, that's definitely why we knew we had to end on connection. We wanted to leave off with a reminder that, you aren't alone in your struggles and that your struggles don't have to be burdened alone. That's what friends are for, And no matter what, there is always something to be grateful for. Anyways, yeah, that's the film. Yay! I think one thing that could have been improved as well in this film was making that love triangle thing a bit more obvious, or making more obvious that Michael was trying to impress a guy. I'm not entirely sure if that scene of Michael trying to take a picture of this really filtered, heavily edited picture of ice cream would have the same effect of him posing shirtless and editing that shirtless picture to be super buff or something, Yeah, that's something that definitely could have been done better. But at the same time, when I think about it, yo boy was too insecure to do that. But now, for the art, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll do it. We probably could have done a better job of making the reason for the spiral to be a bit more clear, the jealousy aspect of it. I feel like we definitely nailed the grander pressures of social media weighing down on him, but we didn't really hit home the personal part, the I wish you were looking at me instead of him kind of thing. And I also think we probably should have gone a body double for the dancing. Look, I know maybe I can dance better than the average straight 40-year-old man. But man, watching me dance, that was rough. Even back then, I was so out of practice. Oh my God. I just did not really have the skill level required for what I wanted to portray in this film. But in a way, even though I can't stand watching myself dance, I think it does make the thing way more personal and way more raw. So overall, I am still very glad that I did it. I just can't watch it without cringing so much. I'm sweating thinking about it. But yeah, the dance part is a pretty integral part of the story of the film, so it had to be, I had to do it. There's no other way around it. I just wish I was a better dancer. But yeah, I mentioned on this channel that I used to feel so ugly and so insecure with myself and how unliked and unwanted I felt back in Canada. And this film was definitely made during that era, so it's you're seeing a time capsule. This is that era of my life. But I will say I'm way better now, way better. It's not even comparable, girl. But yeah, you're kind of watching a bit of my history. Anyways, that's everything I had to say for now. I guess I'll just see you guys next time. All right, see you.